Ciao tifosi bianconeri, hello and welcome to episode 329 of the Turin Giants podcast, focused on a Juventus Cagliari post-game analysis and reaction. We are coming to you actually live on YouTube, roughly call it 30 minutes after the final whistle blew in the Allianz. I am Kevin, your host for this episode, and I am joined by my two dear, beautiful bald bastard friends, Zach and Frederic. How are you guys?
Well, our introduction is so much more polished now that we've done it twice. But I am happy that the stream works for everybody, and I'm also happy with a second win this week, a professional win, and that is, I think, exactly what this team needed.
Frederic, how are you?
I am meh.
Meh. All right.
Meh. I'm sorry. I have no better words at this point. It's meh.
All right. Well, we'll definitely unpack that. For those of you listening to this in our traditional audio podcast format, if you're wondering kind of why we're laughing or why we're talking about this being more polished, when we went live on YouTube roughly, 5 or 10 minutes ago, there was a technical issue and nobody could actually hear or see us. So we had to restart this a bit. But again, if you are watching this live on YouTube, thank you so much for being here with us. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your podcast platform of choice, or just rewatching the video on YouTube, thank you. We are grateful that you choose to spend your time with us. There are so many different options for consuming Juventus content, and we're honored that you choose to spend some of that with the Turin Giants crew. And if it would mean the world to us to subscribe, to set alerts, to give us a 5-star rating. We are so close to our 100th 5-star review on Spotify, and we just crossed 600 subscribers on YouTube. So thank you, everyone, for spending this time with us. Now, let's dive right into it. Frederic, I'm actually going to start with you. Can you elaborate a bit more on the meh of your current mindset?
You're going to open up that freaking can of worms, Kevin, right off the bat. All right. Let's hear it.
I'm very happy with the win, but you'd expect more after the Bodo Glimt game, because we were talking about, the whole turning point issue last Wednesday, and I felt that we didn't do as well as we were supposed to do. I'm happy with the 3 points, but if you summarize the game, it was, especially in the first half, Kenan Yıldız against the world again. And the changes I was hoping to see, or the intensity that I was hoping to see this game, it didn't happen. So I'm a bit disappointed there, and I'm still figuring out what this is going to mean for us in the long term. I'll take the win, like I said, but I feel that there's still a lot of work to be done, and the progress that I'm hoping to see every game, I'm not seeing it. So I'm a bit negative in that regard. Surprise, surprise.
You negative, Zach? Do you have what's your predominant feeling right now?
I have to disagree with my good friend here. None of us during the episode with Beppe on Wednesday, he asked us, was this a turning point? We said no, because we understand that this is a flawed team, and those flaws, many of them, are still present today. The difference was, versus today versus in the past, is that we got the result that we wanted. Right? You saw a win. Fantastic. You saw Kenan Yıldız, Federico, you called out in the last episode and said shouldn't get an extension. We saw him put the team on his back and score 2 wonderful goals, right? So I think if you're expecting after Bodo Glimt to see a completely new team, that was an unreasonable expectation. The team has made the next step up to get the win against a team they absolutely should have, and we should hope to see baby steps in that right direction as the season continues.
So let's actually start by looking at the 11 that went on the pitch today. I think there were some interesting choices, and I think, Frederic, to your point, stemming from the way that the Bodo Glimt match ended with some of the positive individual performances. Perhaps we were expecting that to make its way into the starting 11, namely one of Openda or David starting, which we did not see. Frederic, what were your initial reactions when you saw the starting 11?
I felt it was very strange, especially bringing Dusan in, who hasn't trained that much this week due to an injury. And I don't know. I just figured that if somebody plays positive in a must-win game, in a Champions League game, and especially the impact they had and the impact for them that game meant, I think you should have brought them in, gave them the confidence that they were so desperately needing. So I think that was an odd choice for me. But I was proven wrong because their performances as subs were subpar. Maybe David a bit more better because he got more playing time, but at the end you could tell that this was a team that it's still in almost the beginning of December searching for an identity. Spalletti still he refuses to play with a 4-back line for some reason. We create a lot, but we nearly don't score if it wasn't for Kenan. So these, for me, are all worrying aspects because 2 months ago we were complaining about the fact that we didn't create enough chances. Now we do, but we still can't seem to, finish them off. So it's a double-edged sword here, and we try to bury one problem, and out comes the next one. So I'm a bit at a loss for word at that respect.
I think the solution, though, is simple because we played. There was two notable different ways we played today. One that produced absolutely nothing, and the other way where we got all of our scoring chances. So in the first half, this 3-4-3 played predominantly through the wings. Cagliari, as you would expect, bunched the middle, and we would play out wide. Chico and Yıldız way wide. McKennie wide. Kostic, as always, stays wide. Absolutely nothing came from that type of play in a very slow-paced, boring first half. But whenever we played down the middle, all of a sudden, with these quick passing combos, we created really good chances. And in fact, both of our goals and several of those chances that we should have scored in early in the second half, from the 47th to the 53rd minute, we created 3 clear-cut goal-scoring chances cutting through the middle. And so I think the answer is simple. When we're able to play with pace and in the center of the pitch, surprise, surprise, we've been saying it since Mota was appointed, you can create better, higher quality scoring opportunities. And that's what we did today. So I think you take those positives. You say, this is the recipe for success. Let's improve on that. Let's build on that. And I don't expect it to change overnight. This team has proven incapable of making that type of leap. But what we did see today was them execute in those moments more effectively than they have at the past. And that is encouraging.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, when was the last, aside from McKennie's header that we saw earlier this week, when was the last time we were scoring goals effectively from crosses? We're so much better when there's more vertical play through the middle where we end up creating a goal scoring opportunity in front of the box.
Yeah, I think of what Kelly, what was it? It was against either Dortmund or Inter. The last minute, one of the last minute goals, Kelly coming in from a cross. We do not score, despite being second in Serie A in crosses. We just don't score on those very often. So it was encouraging for me to see that type of combo play today against a team that we knew was going to sit in and be a little bit more negative.
Yeah, and you could tell by the way, if Kenan dropped back to center, we were very, very, very much, we were a lot more dangerous then, as opposed to him sticking on the wing. So that's a good thing. Might I just add one quick footnote? I thought this Cagliari side today was very, very, very poor.
Mm-hmm.
I knew they were poor beforehand, but I didn't expect them to be this poor because they literally didn't, especially in the second half, almost didn't create anything apart from a few things that we gave away, to be honest. So
I mean, Esposito's a kind of tricky, speedy little player, but That was about it, and a
Yeah,
couple bright
Palestra
spots from
maybe.
full Rune show every once in a while, but other than that, there wasn't much there.
No.
But let's be real. I mean, yes, they're 1 point above the relegation zone. But we've struggled against teams of all statures to put games away. And so whether it's saying, well, we only won in Bodo because of how open they were, or we only beat Cagliari because of how poor they were, I think that undersells the contribution of our team in order to create these chances, because the goals we scored today were fantastic goals of high passing, quick passing, combination play in the middle to create space. And even though this is a poor Cagliari side, they were pretty structured, especially in the middle of the pitch for much of this game. So I don't want to take away from Juventus's contribution to this win, and maybe accidentally or inadvertently chalk it up to, well, our opponent just sucked.
No, that wasn't my intention, but I feel that if you play such a side, which is, a weak side in all regards, and you come out after that, good win, especially mentally against Bodo, I expected to see a team with more resilience in the first half, to be honest, and more fighting spirit in them. And I think this is, for me, a very frustrating point, because we never seem to grab that momentum that we build up in another game, and it's like we always start from scratch every other game, and that's a bit frustrating for me, because you would have thought, or you would have assumed that, grabbing Cagliari by the throat, giving their lackluster performances of late, you'd be able to bag a brace in the second half without any issues, and maybe finish it off with a third or fourth in the second, and that didn't happen. So these are the things that worry me for now.
But I will say that we have not had a lot of matches where we've had ample opportunity to score multiple goals. I mean, we were talking about this with Beppe earlier this week, that how many games can we think of where the first scoring opportunity on target came in the 60th minute, the 70th minute, from some either lackluster shot from outside the box or some looping header that qualifies as a shot on target? And
Yep.
here we're complaining, and rightfully so, because we should have won this game by more than one goal, but we actually had legitimate goal scoring opportunities in this match, and we should have won this 3-1, 4-1. And like I was taking some notes in this match, and I think Zach, right at that 53rd minute, after Chico really scuffed the breakaway opportunity, after Cambiasso, God knows what he was thinking with that cross shot kind of opportunity.
Yeah, that was bad.
He overthought it, and clearly he just overthought it. And then Coop Miners had the miss in the box, actually able to keep it on the ground and not shoot it into to row Q. But would those shots come back, missed opportunities come back to bite us in the ass? And thankfully, we know that they didn't, but that would have been really kind of traditional Juve there.
but it bears repeating or emphasizing that despite all the shots we've been getting in games, and I've noted that we've gotten a lot of shots and a lot of shots on goals in games this year, but they haven't been necessarily dangerous. I mean, those run of play, Kevin, that you said, those three chances then, and then Chico getting that cross at the top of the 6 in the 72nd minute, all of those should have been goals. Like, those were clear-cut chances, not like half chances or hopeful chances. Those were clear-cut chances, and that's not something we have said a lot about Juventus this year, is having 6 clear-cut chances in a game. Like that is I mean, the inability to bury them is a carryover from what we've seen all season, but the creation of clear-cut chances is a notable improvement.
And despite that, our XG for the game was like 1.75. I do not understand how that statistic is calculated. I feel that we should have been in a position to score many more than that. Speaking
I don't
of
trust
goals,
those XG. Sorry, I feel
no, I can't.
Actually, XG is like, I use it as a very rough barometer in terms of like, because it's totally this black box of nonsense. But it is a very rough barometer about when you look at comparing XG in a game versus another game or versus Juventus versus opponent. So let's recognize the limitation of that as a metric.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about the goal, so why don't we actually just dive right into the goal. So in the 25th, 26th minute, Kostic, who had an abysmal first half, loses the ball, just gets completely burned. Ball comes into the box. It wasn't super clear to me whether Esposito actually finished that or whether it came off of Locatelli. Whatever, it ends up in the back of the net. I mean, at that point in time, like, what are you thinking, Zach?
It's classic. It's classic. I've talked about this all season, is when we concede goals, it often involves an individual, like, boneheaded error. Thuram's had a couple of them, losing the ball early in the season, or the header back recently. Or you talk about Gatti getting beat one-on-one several times this year, or Odzic's pass back. It's just these boneheaded things. And you have Kostic, who gets the ball and then and he's a sturdy player, and then gets dispossessed. Well, then guess what? What rears its ugly head again is our midfield not tracking runners. Locatelli was late, and I think Kostic is more at blame here, but he's late in tracking back, and Esposito has the position on it. I don't blame Perin for that at all, because it was a breakdown of those two players doing their job, failing to do their job. Kostic, especially on what should have been a very simple recycling of possession, just getting beat one-on-one. It's just inexcusable. And so I kind of rolled my eyes. And in fact, I was watching it with some folks here at my place, and I told them beforehand, and I was like, this is exactly the type of game where we're going to go down early in order to incentivize us to fight back. And that script that we've seen a bunch this year, at least at that point, was playing out exactly as predicted.
Yeah, and it bears remarking that Kostic got away in the first minutes of the game as well, because he lost the ball there to, I think it was Palestra, and there was this dubious foul, no foul in the penalty box, but that could have gone either way. It was like the Vlahovic penalty, no penalty from last week. It was kind of the same, so we could have given either way. And at that point, I was thinking, I hope to God that he doesn't, do anything like this similar in the game. And then he did, and we were behind.
Zach, you mentioned Perin's name. I want to do a little sidebar here. I know we're talking about the goals, but we actually didn't talk about Perin when we were reviewing the starting 11. Frederic, how did that make you feel to not see your...
Look at the smile, man. Look at his smile. Look at his smile.
Yeah,
for people only listening.
Those of you, listening in audio format only, Frederic just unleashed a smile that covers like half of the
looks like the Joker over here.
here.
I mean,
it's amazing. It's amazing what you can achieve if you have a goalkeeper that knows how to extend his arms properly. I mean, I mean, if you look at the game, the first goal, it wasn't Perin's fault. Like, it could have been Digre goal as well, or it could be Buffon. I think the outcome would have been the same. But I'd like to note that in the moments that Perin defended his goal, he was actually defending it, whether it was on corners or high balls, or going down the ground to get to pick up a shot or whatever. He was very present as a keeper. He commanded some respect in the box, and I think that's what we needed. Now, it's not like Digre lost his place, because he came down with a stomach bug, I think, or so they say. So, but I found Perin as well in the Bodo Glimt game as tonight. I found him to be a lot more trustworthy than Digre. I'm not gonna bash Digre because the guy's sick, so I'm not gonna bash on him
today.
The whole night,
the first time all season, he's not gonna bash Digre.
We'll see if he's back next week or even Wednesday. I don't think he's gonna play on Wednesday. I think that's a game reserved for Perin, but we'll see. But Perin left, at least he didn't leave a bitter aftertaste in my mouth, or his performance didn't, because that sounded really, really wrong. But never mind me.
Yeah, well, real quickly, clarification: the next game is the Copa game on Tuesday.
Tuesday,
Um,
yeah, sorry.
but he didn't really have much to do this game. Like I said, like you said, probably wasn't at fault for the goal. He had those 2 near post saves. Gray has got beat a couple times this year on the near post, but I don't think this game per se was any indication of or demonstration that Perin is a superior goalkeeper. I think due to Gray, and I would say struggles. He has struggled. I think it's important to incentivize players by using rotation and in competition for spots to push people to the next level. And Perin has deserved, I think, his opportunity in the starting rotation, Gray being sick or not. So I am happy to see this, because nobody should be guaranteed a spot. We saw that last year for the first half of the season with Vlahovic, which was shambolic. So I think this is important for competition for spots and for the integrity of our team. So we'll see what happens going forward.
On that note, I'm kind of I don't know, ambushing y'all, so no need to play the scoop tune. But Juventus have made it a priority to sign a new goalkeeper.
Well, our fans here in the chat on YouTube for those commenting, seem to have a unanimous perspective on playing Perin over Di Gregorio. So just also an opportunity to thank those of you who are here with us on this live. So thank you. We appreciate your comments. We appreciate you spending time with us. We'll try to get to some of the questions towards the end of the episode. So if there are things you want us to focus on or topics we don't get to, please feel free to leave them there for us. All right. So we did our sidebar on the goalkeeper situation. Let's get back to the goals. Thankfully, being down 1-0 only lasted about a minute or so before Yıldız continued his fine form stemming from last match to put the first goal away in the 27th minute. Frederic, do you want to reflect on that one a bit?
Yeah, it was like Zach said, we kind of basically need that script, that goal against us in order to rekindle the flames, and we started, straight. But the thing that I like most about that goal is there was a second when you thought that Kenan made that step too many right before he shoots, but then with a very nice body feint, and almost as if the ball was attached to his feet with a string of rope, he just buried the shot, and it wasn't a very, very easy shot, I can tell you. Had a bit of a deflection as well, but that was the spark, and I'm very happy that we scored that early after that first goal against us, because I think if that would have lasted longer, then we wouldn't be so comfortable. We start getting nervous again, as we've seen in a lot of past showings and in previous games. So I was very happy for us to score that quickly. So it was a nice move, something that came out of midfield, dead in center, which proves Zach's point as well. We're very, very, very capable of scoring and being offensively accurate if we just go through the middle. And we've been saying that for a while now, but I'm happy somebody listened.
Yeah,
but then you say as we listen, and maybe I'll steal just a minute here before we get to the second goal, Kevin. Is so you score that goal, playing through the middle, quick passing, and you're like, great, momentum's on our side. We're gonna do it again. And immediately after we score, what was that? The 27th minute. We don't play again through the middle until what? The extra time in the first half when we score the second goal. Which was a little bit frustrating, but once again, that middle script plays itself out, doesn't it, Frederic?
Yeah, but also the fact that we raised the tempo a bit and the rhythm of the game made us dangerous. because you saw that, for the majority of the first half, we played subpar concerning our rhythm, concerning the tempo that we or tried to impose on Cagliari, and we couldn't create anything. But the moment that we raised that rhythm, you could see that Cagliari was back trailing, and we had the upper hand. So for me, it's very difficult to understand why you don't do that as a team, why you can't sense that. And that's another indication for me that this team just doesn't gel. Because if you gel as a team, then you get that feeling. You sniff blood, or you can smell blood, and you know when to, as a team, to attack and how to attack. This team just doesn't have that quality. Um, that's one of the things that worries me, because you need to pick your moments, and you need, as a team, to know when you have to perform such actions. And if you rely on the coach to tell you that from the sideline for the rest of the game, then it's going to be very difficult to do that. This is an automated muscle memory thing that needs to develop within a team. And I'm very sorry that this hasn't happened yet.
But we got two of those moments today, though. I mean, because I think that the first goal, I mean, I think I'll have to watch the replay, but I think it was McKennie and Kalulu and Vlahovic and Turam with the deflection that where the ball finally landed with Yildiz. I mean, that's defenders, that's midfielders, that's forwards, all being engaged in a goal scoring opportunity. This isn't just like a fluke thing where you're either getting it on off of a set piece, or you're winning possession high up the field and just one or two passes and taking a shot. This is orchestrated play from the team, resulting in a goal, which, Zach, to your point, came again close to the first half whistle, again with it was Kelly and Locatelli playing the ball back and forth right around midfield. And then Locatelli, the man who everybody says only plays horizontal balls, but indeed has the number one amount of completed forward passes in Europe, finds that incredible ball forward to McKennie, which unleashes the play for Yildiz to get his second. Zach, like, what are you thinking when you see that? It's
Mr. Horizontal passing,
Yeah.
17 passes into the final third, 9 of 11 from distance. Yeah, Mr. Horizontal negative passer. I'm Kevin, I'm with you on the Locatelli thing. Frederic stands alone in the group of three as the anti-Loca guy. But I think we've been clamoring for these types of team goals. And again, I'm not going to say that that Bodo was some giant turning point, but we saw the baby steps in the right direction today with these goals and with the chances created in the second half. We're early in the second half, coming out with the right attitude, creating those chances that we couldn't finish, obviously, work in progress. But we saw some really good progress from a team standpoint to show that they can do it. Okay. We have the quality to do it. We just have to find those windows and capitalize on it. We still see situations where people are making positive runs. And a couple times today, Turam looked up, saw the positive run, and he didn't release. He passed it back sideways. Now, Turam's a separate discussion, but I think that's common for a lot of our players, is some of them don't have that courage to take the chance. Locatelli is the one player consistently that has had the courage to try those long balls to create these chances. We capitalized on it against Bodo, and we capitalized again on it today on both sides of the ball.
Nice touch from McKennie, though, right? That little flick he had to Kalulu off of that pass from Loca, that was nice.
McKennie had two fantastic touches in what I thought was an otherwise underwhelming game. He had the pirouette on the sideline, a la Zidane, and he had that backwards pass. And goals, we were talking about sort of oftentimes very slow possession-based play. What happens chances are created when you have a change of pace, you move the ball quickly, you have better off the ball movement. And so it's things like that, with good vision and understanding and cohesion with the players around you, that will create space for us to carve out opportunities. We just don't see it enough. So it was a great job from him today, but that's the kind of thing that we need to see more of. And to go to Frederic's point, we haven't, simply because some of these players very clearly still don't know how to play with each other. Again, work in progress. Some folks have noted in the chat sort of how David and Openda did not play well together once they were both on the pitch. And I agree with that today. There's still some cohesion lacking in some folks. That needs to grow. But we saw the potential of McKennie getting into more advanced central spaces with good feeds from Locatelli to then get balls in dangerous positions on skill players like Yıldız to Thuram back to Yıldız who scores. So I want to see maybe not as flare heavy play, though I won't object to it, but we need to see more quick passing and move type plays to unlock defenses like today that are more negative. And that was positive to see, because we said we'll never get more open space than we did against Bodo. And we didn't today. But guess what? We were able to use these changes of paces effectively to score the goals that we did. We need to see more of it now.
Yeah, I agree.
No, go ahead.
No, I agree to the extent that, I'll circle back to my previous point. It all has to do with rhythm. If you apply a decent rhythm, just then you can, create chances by moving around the pitch very quickly, doing those 1-2 touches, running into open spaces. You can only do that if there's a certain type of rhythm in your game. And I think that's the thing we need to focus on, because it's very difficult to get that rhythm without a certain mentality. If you come on the pitch foaming at the mouth, so to speak, and you're all fired up, then it's more easy to get into that fast-paced rhythm in order to suffocate your opponents and start with that quick 1-2s, those passing movements that are so vital to us in order for us to score. And I think this is something that is now on Spalletti's shoulders. He needs to see that too, and needs to, tell the players every game, you need to start this way with this mentality and this rhythm, because if not, you're setting yourself up for trouble, because we don't have the quality to break a game open out of nowhere, or have the people to be as incisive in the moments that we want them to. So I think, as Zach pointed out, this is something that we need to work on, and hopefully Spalletti does that, because for me, and we'll circle back to Spalletti in a while, but for me, Spalletti thus far has been a disappointment.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. You made that statement. There's other players, there's other moments about the game that we want to talk about, but let's not blow past it. What's your perspective on Spalletti's first 6 matches? What are we at? 3 wins, 3 draws so far? Is that right?
Yeah, we haven't
16,
lost under. Yeah, we haven't lost under him yet, so that's a positive. But I just expected Spalletti after this honeymoon period to, be a bit more Spalletti wise, and do the things that he's known to do and what he's good at. And albeit a change of formation if that's necessary, but also the things that we know Spalletti for. And you see some points, because we're playing more offensively. I think the last 2 games there's a bit of more oomph in our stride, but up at this far, there are more things. I have more question marks about some of the things that he's done, like the substitutions or the starting lineups, and the non-formational changes that have my mind a bit boggled at this point. I was hoping for him to be more himself, and this is something that we reiterated with Tudor, I think, as well. We didn't see, I think, the Tudor that is the real Tudor. And we're waiting now for what is it, 7 weeks, 8 weeks on Spalletti to do the same. And I'm hoping he'll do it, because we need a radical course change. So I'm a bit
The
disappointed in
comment
that
on the
regard.
non-formational changes, how much do you think can be attributed to the Koopmeiners situation, and that he's found a position that works for him as a player? And given our lack of center backs right now, do you think he's sticking with this just based on the resources he has?
It's a bit strange, because if you look back at Koop's pass at AZ Alkmaar, he played in a back four as well. So if he can, give us these performances in a back three, he should be able, in theory, to give the same performances in a back four, because he's used to it from his time in the Netherlands. So I don't think this is the reasoning behind it. I think, and I could be wrong. I'll probably be wrong here. I think Spalletti is a bit overwhelmed by the pressure and is not that prone to taking risks in this moment, because let's not forget, he has a contract of like 6 months. And I think he feels comfortable now with playing it safe because we haven't lost under him. So in that regard, he's right. We haven't lost yet. We had some draws, but we haven't lost yet. And I think to him, not losing is of more importance at this point in the season than trying to win with something with a drastic overhaul. Because if you do a drastic overhaul and it backfires, it all comes down to you as a coach. Because if we would have
Mhm.
played with a back four today and we would have drawn or we would have lost, then it would all come crashing down on Spalletti's head. So I don't think he feels comfortable yet in making these decisions or taking these risks yet. But I'm hoping that he will at a given point in time.
So I see the same thing you see, but I take a different angle on it because I don't see it as a hesitancy to take risks. I think I see it more systematic. Is don't change too many variables at once as you evaluate the team at hand and as you work with them to make micro changes to get more out of them. We talked a couple games ago that the new coach boost was gone. And so that's usually when you see more of the hard games. We've won our last two. We've scored 5 goals on the last two. We've created more consistent chances in our last two. You're seeing patterns of play for like an open play goal creation of to the tune of what 5 or 6 clear-cut chances today. Granted, we talked about the level of opposition and how they played, which might play to our favor, but that doesn't stop the progress we were seeing because under Tudor we couldn't buy a goal scoring chance despite the shots that we were getting. We certainly couldn't buy a goal. So I think with Spalletti, he's taking a more systematic approach. Don't change too much. This is clearly a flawed team with players, some of whom have clearly struggled with the pressure of playing at Juventus and everything that goes with it. So let's not go too crazy. I mean, you say
No,
he doesn't take risks. What was the starting lineup against Bodo? That was kind of a risk, and that he had to correct, right? And he did, and we
yeah,
won. So I think he's feeling out the team from more of a systematic approach than necessarily a fear of taking risks approach.
yeah. You make very, very good sense, and it's a good and valid point. But I also think that if we were to have another midfielder, I think he'd try the back four earlier. I
That's the
don't think
point.
he's comfortable. I don't think he's comfortable with midfield. I think he feels that he needs to reinforce the midfield due to the lack of quality, or let's say,
If you went to a 4-3-3, what with the players we have and who is healthy, how would you line up, Frederic?
But that's the issue, Kevin. I think you can't.
yeah,
Like that's the problem. You could Frederic could come out and we only have 3 midfielders to really choose from realistically, but you have Moretti who's still getting back up to speed. He very much struggled in the starting role for much of the Bodo
Mhm.
game. Okay, he's been fine in his substitute appearances. Taram is still out of sorts, right? McKennie has
mhm.
proven that his touch isn't reliable in the middle of the pitch consistently. So I don't think you can play a 4-3. You don't have the people unless you throw Cambiaso in there.
I mean,
You,
but
you,
let's play it out though. Like, I don't want to dance around or kind of justify why
you
we
have
can't
to
do it. But
at the
how
end
would
of
you
the
line
day,
up?
you'll have to choose between, in my opinion, if you play a three-man midfield, you'll have to choose between either McKennie or Moretti, and I think um, our coach values McKennie a lot, but also sees potential in Moretti, and that's why he's choosing this formation in order to combine them for some minutes of the game. Because make no mistake, I'm not the biggest McKennie fan, but if you take McKennie away from this midfield, the whole midfield will crumble. Because Locatelli does what Locatelli does. Is it good? Is it bad? That's not for me to say at this point. But if you have a midfield consisting with Locatelli, Thuram, and let's say McKennie, you have no creativity. You have no attacking resources. McKennie can do a back heel all of a sudden, or Zidane pirouette, but that's not something that is into his playing style. You need McKennie for those kilometers, for the set of lungs he has, and recuperate the ball and pass it to somebody who knows what to do with it more of the time. But you don't have that. Were we to get a midfielder in January that ticks all the boxes that Spalletti wants, and if you look at the past, Spalletti wants somebody who's good with the ball, who's very good in one-touch passing, who's creative, but also can, if need be, go to war in midfield defensively. if we get somebody like that, then I think after a while that Spalletti will say, okay, we'll drop McKennie out of the starting lineup, and I'll put my guy, whoever that will be, in. You could see results, but at this point, it's a gamble, and the risk, the return on investment is about like 70-30. So it's logical that he doesn't try that, although I would like to see him try, but you need to be comfortable. If we were up 4-1 in the 60th minute against Cagliari, you could switch formations, you could bring somebody in, see how that goes. But we haven't had the opportunities yet in a game match, because every game that we've played thus far was a must-win game. So that speaks in his advantage. But I'm hoping for that reinforcement in January and a revision of the formation, because I think with a three-man midfield, you're more inclined to play through the middle, because your wings are not missing, but are not as effective, and then we can stop with those stupid crosses in the box.
We did see, I think, a little taste of what a 4-3-3 would look like with our current roster in the second half.
Yeah,
because you saw Cambiasso
exactly.
subbing in for Kostic. You saw Cambiasso and McKennie shift way more centrally in that second half
Yeah.
for longer periods of time. And so that when you had Thuram and Locatelli, or Moretti and Locatelli, with Cambiasso and McKennie in the middle, that's kind of what you would see with a 4-3-3 with this team. You'd see Loca, Thuram, or Loca, Moretti, McKennie. Cambiasso would be the left back. He would shift inside. So you saw functionally that similar type of play that you would expect, or I would expect at least, from a 4-3-3 with the personnel we have. And I think with David at striker, and we'll talk about how he needs to be a little bit more selfish, but he was very comfortable coming back and facilitating possession in sort of that 10 position, that you would also hope a striker would be able to do in a 4-3-3, where you have guys maybe kind of, doing overlapping runs like McKennie and so on and so forth. So you saw a little semblance of what that might look like with the current roster.
Mm-hmm.
It was a hybrid formation, I think, in the second half, more or less. It was a bit of everything all rolled into one, and
It felt
for
4-3-3 defensively, but then the 3-4-3 offensively, or the 3-4-2-1, with
yeah, and
Cambiasso dropping back, and even Kostic in the first half to a degree. You didn't see McKennie on the right flank dropping back nearly as far as Kostic did.
Mm-hmm.
but I think that was intentional. I think that was intentional, because if we were to do that, that would leave a lot of space between midfield and defense for us, which would be, as we saw in the first half, very dangerous for us, because once we left a bit of space to Cagliari, they didn't do much with it, but they were more offensive minded than when we were pressing them more. So we'll see.
Well, we have some words from Spalletti. It looks like some of the post game press has been published here. So I'm translating this off of Gazzetta, but so we came in timidly doing standard issue stuff while you expect better. Then we lost one of those balls that should be impossible to lose and put Cagliari in a position to score. At that point, we had to do things differently. We went out and grabbed the opportunities like Juve should. After the goal, the team started playing, maintained good possession, and threatened in the penalty area. Then we weren't too slow to convert everything we created. Cagliari played an important match, but we deserved to win. If you don't score in those situations, it's clear that the others will take heart. Then he goes on to speak about Vlahovic. He is hurt. He's in pain. He pulled a muscle. We had him under control, but the problem is he didn't get the contact he wanted with the ball. He almost missed it and went for nothing. He does go on to praise Yıldız, of course. The system right now leaves him free to get close to goal, which we have been clamoring about, and get him off of that left wing, get him more central. And obviously today he plays more centrally and scores 2 goals in tight spaces. He knows when to add that extra touch. And then it looked like the interview here kind of wraps up, kind of pushing on his return to Naples, because we have the Napoli match coming up. And he quotes, "I can only imagine the happiness I'll feel returning to the stadium. I don't know how they'll behave, but it'll be very easy for me." That will be an entertaining one. We won't spend too much time talking about that game now, but that is certainly one to look forward to.
I have another snippet from the zone, if you don't mind me adding.
Yeah, please.
We entered the field very timidly. We did basic stuff, and we need to do more. It all pertains to the rhythm. We need to up the rhythm a bit more and keep the pressure on the opponents, because without that rhythm, it's impossible for us to do what we are expected to do.
Sounds
I think
like
he's listened to us.
he's
He listened.
listening to us.
He said in the dressing room, said, "Oh, I got this Turin Giants pop up. I'm gonna go in the bathroom, put my AirPods in, and I'll get back to you guys." So, exactly what we said. So basically,
Let's talk.
So
Can we
there-
talk a minute about Dusan and the injury?
yeah,
him?
definitely.
Because
I just texted my source, by the way, to see how
How
serious.
real?
How
Yeah.
yeah. I think, look, I will never, ever, 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 ever wish any player be injured in any way, shape, or form on any team ever. I think, though, considering this being the last year of his contract and how much we've wanted to see a run of games and some form and some confidence given to Jonathan David and Luis Openda, this could very well be a step in the direction, forcing those guys to be integrated into the team that will be to our benefit in the longer term. And so I really hope they rise to the occasion if Duchan's out a month or so, to take advantage of the run of games and to capitalize on it, because both of them have been victim, in my opinion, of inconsistent opportunities early in this year, strange last minute sub situations that has never allowed them to really gel with the players around them. And this could very well force the coaching staff to do what I believe they should have done in the first place, which is build their team around the guys that they spent a lot of time and money and effort bringing in and making it work.
Just got a text back, by the way. I'm gonna translate on the fly if you don't mind. So pardon my linguistical errors. It's very, very bad. He's still in tears. Staff is debating whether or not to rush him to hospital already tonight.
Oh goodness.
It looked like it was groin. Is it groin?
It's a groin injury. It's a adduttore. It's the groin, and I think it's the same side that which he had that pubalgic infection on. So I'm not sure, but he was crying, and he was also. Let me scroll down. He said to some players, I'm in a hell of a lot of pain."
Yeah,
So it
you
doesn't
never
look-
like to see that stuff, but I think as a team, it's going to force them to build around the players that we brought in to make a difference. And that's really what a team should be doing. And I think a lot of us, myself included, and I don't know about y'all, but I've been clamoring for them to do just that. And it's been kind of annoying to me to see Tudor first and then Spalletti to an extent really not give that show of confidence to David and Openda, to say, we believe in you. Well, now they're going to have to, and I'm kind of putting my confidence, especially in Jonathan David, to come good on the line here, to say that a player who's contributed to 180 goals in his 26 years of 26 years old, 6 years of professional life, that should work out well for us, and I hope it certainly does.
I'm
Well,
I'm
we wish-
financially disappointed. Financially disappointed because if he's out for 3 months or more, then nobody's gonna buy him in January. Meaning, if he
Absolutely
leaves,
not. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
he'll
not.
leave transfer free in June. So I don't know. I'm sorry, Vlau. I don't mean to, but given the aspects of a potential transfer, I think this is very important. And
We're thinking of the club, and
if
I
if it's
think-
if it's that bad, I don't see him making an entrance before the new year. So I mean, if it's a pulled muscle, or even worse, a torn muscle, then he'll need surgery.
Well, we at a player level wish him a
Mhm.
speedy recovery. Certainly don't wish that upon anybody. I think, Zach, you bring up some very valid points that does force us to kind of make peace with some of the bets that we made with the players we brought into this squad, to integrate them properly and start to put them in a position where we depend on them. There's a few other players who I think we should talk about in their performances, players who have been brought up actually quite frequently here in the YouTube chat, but also just they merit some perspective. So what I'd like to do, Zach and Frederic, is just kind of a little bit of rapid fire. I'm going to give you a player, just offer kind of your perspective, good performance, what to expect, but let's keep it kind of tight. Zach, let's start with you and Conceição.
Conceição, dude, he is one of the most polarizing players on Juventus. Back when he was still on loan and we were addressing the question of whether we should buy him, I said yes. But I think in the minority of the Turin Giants crew at that time, because one simple fact, he creates something out of nothing, which is a rare talent in today's world. Despite his flaws, he, for much of this game, was the most consistently dangerous player on the pitch. Despite Yıldız's 2 goals, Conceição was rearing up more frequently, creating dangerous chances. And I think he was a great contributor today, and I think he is going to continue to be a great contributor over the season. I think what he desperately needs is Zagrova to be healthy more consistently, to provide different layers of threat from that position. And that will only work to make him more effective in my position as you have change of pace substitutions. Start with Zagrova, bring in Chico, and vice versa.
He needs to find his shooting boots. But yeah, go ahead, Frederic.
He does.
I think he's massively overrated. I'm going to die on that hill. Like, no, I need a Conceição. Like, I agree with what you say, the explosiveness and the ability to create something with his pace, and always the cutback and cutting him from the right side, but I need him to be more consistent and score more, because
agreed.
If he doesn't do that, then all of the things that he creates goes to waste, or at least give us a couple of assists more. And I think he needs to focus on that as well. And I think we can repeat that every game. When he had a good game, he was great, but he missed the finishing. And that's something that we always can say about him. And I think he really needs to up his game there. And maybe, instead of doing another shimmy or another feint, just shoot the damn ball. I mean, that's my gripe with Conceição.
I'm not going to read his post-match commentary, but he was interviewed after this match, and anybody listening, go ahead and read it. And he's reflecting on his wastefulness in front of goal. Frederic, we're going to stay with you and Fabio Moretti.
Today was awesome. He was 10 times the player he was in the Bodo game. I don't know if that had anything to do with the fact that he didn't start this game, but was subbed in. But I thought he played very decently. He linked up well. Vision, pace. The only thing that worries me about Moretti as a whole, as a player, I don't know if he has the mentality and a bit of extra to make it to the next level. He's already, what is he, 24, 25?
23,
No.
I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
23.
something along. Yeah, but he's not like this next gen player that we need to protect and cuddle, and so he needs to step up. And
I was there because I had just, I think, moved to Turin when Allegri started him. I think it was a team in yellow. I think it was Hellas Verona when he started.
Yeah.
It was like an early, like awkwardly early game. I think it was like a 12 p.m. game.
12:30 game, yeah.
Yeah, when he started, I was there, and every time he touched the ball and just went, he actually was going forward, right? And that was like this novel thing for a Juventus midfielder at the time. I'll never forget that match when he was 19, I think then.
Yeah, he was good today, but I'm not sure if he can reach the things that we were expecting from him to reach. But today he did very, very well. I think he was one of the best players on the pitch for me personally.
We'll see, Frederic. But I think it's clear to me in the way he played today, with a little bit of fervor, or more at least than Bodo, is that he sees that Thuram's poor form this season is a massive opportunity for him. And so I think he's working hard to take advantage of that. And ultimately, your question about whether he can reach that heights, a question I very much have, and I'm a little bit more skeptical maybe than most about his my belief in his ability to do that. But I think we're going to see him we're going to see what he's made of soon, because Thuram is doing nothing to take a role that should have been his.
We'll keep going with that because Thuram was the player I was going to throw right at you. Zach.
Great job in the goal contribution, but another underwhelming performance. I like the fact that he tried to take some guys on the dribble. It's something we haven't seen him do, which we know he's really good at, but it didn't really work in his favor. And his overall contribution, yes, on the first goal, it was the first goal, I believe. Yeah, the give and go with Yıldız, fantastic, but was very much a passenger and was not surprised to see him substituted in the second half. So I think he is, with his consistent average at best form, ceding his role on this team to Moretti. And just like when we talked about Di Gregorio, I would say give Moretti that run of games and see if he can't elevate our team and take that opportunity to take a step up.
At this point, if we get a new midfielder in, I think, and we need to change formations and get somebody out of midfield, or at least change somebody. At this point, I could see Spalletti, doing that with Turin. I think McKennie is way too precious as of now in terms of distance that he pulls over a certain amount of time. So he's the guy that could go box to box, so to speak. Loca's still doing his thing. Is he overrated? For me, he is, but I think he fits well. And then if you have Moretti, who we spoke about earlier, and who could make a good contribution, then it's going to be between Moretti and the potential new guy. And I think then Thuram falls short. So,
which is kind of a shocking conversation, I think, given how high we were on him as the season ended.
He's got it all, dude. He hasn't proved it. He
seems to me mentally a lot more fragile than last season. It like he's playing with like bags of cement on his feet. Like we didn't see any of that last season when he would just, pick up the ball at the edge of the penalty area and go to the other penalty area and dribble half the team or give an assist or whatever. He doesn't seem to be in that mental state or have that confidence right now to pull that off. And that takes a lot away from his overall performance, because that's what we bought him for, I think, for those massive bursts a la Pogba to the other goal. And if he loses that, then his contributions, they don't matter that much anymore, sadly.
Frederic, I want to stay with you. Just a couple words on Jonathan David.
He started well, I think, given the fact that was a surprise substitute due to the injury of Vlahovic. And I think that's what helped him. He wasn't expecting it. He just had to dive into the pitch and start, and he did that very well, I think. He was a bit chaotic at times and sloppy. And
I wish he'd just shoot the ball, though. I just feel like he's trying to give. He's like trying to be too. I don't know. He's like overthinking the last play. He's passing it too much.
He still lacks a lot of confidence, and I think for a player like Jonathan David, it's going to take 4 or 5 goals for him to regain that confidence that he had at Lille, for example. Now he just wants to do well, and he's overthinking it because he feels the pressure and he feels that he needs to step up, and that makes you question yourself at times and makes you take the wrong decisions as a striker, because as a striker you always need to shoot, you need to be selfish, you need to go for that goal. He's just not comfortable with that yet, but I think given the injury of Dusan, that he'll get his playing time or more playing time that he had in the past, and I hope that it'll come good, because I'm with our good friend Zach on this. I think if we unleash him and he unleashes himself mentally, and we have a good player. But that's also a double-edged sword, because if he doesn't from this point up until, let's say, June, then it wouldn't make sense to sell him, because if the turning point then has not been met, then you need to question what he can provide to the team.
But I want to rewind over the summer, while Frederic and I were pounding scoop episodes of the transfers and whatnot. We did a scoop review of Jonathan David signing, and we noted that one of his big weaknesses as a center striker is that he takes proportionally so many fewer shots than other strikers. And so this is passing is part and parcel to his game. He's got a lot of assists, but we said we need him to be a little bit more selfish. This was back in July, Frederic, and I think we're all in agreement, everyone in chat and everyone on this panel, that in moments where he's at the top of the box, try to get that split second or that little space to take the shot instead of always passing it. We're paying you what 11 mil gross a year, not only for your passing, but also to take those chances as well.
When I thought about this last night, as a matter of fact, when Del Piero and Trezeguet played together, the first 6 games were appalling. They didn't find each other, like, in nothing. All of a sudden, it clicked after a couple of games and practices together, and I think this could potentially happen with Openda and David as well. But they need that nurturing ground. You can't just expect them to sub
You heard
them.
it here first. David and Openda, the next Del Piero Trezeguet copia.
I compared. I actually, when we did our scoop review about Openda, I think I compared him to Tevez.
You did.
In terms of playing style, and I stand by that. I still think he has that same playing style. It just doesn't come forward because he needs that momentum. And I think we need the pendulum as a whole to swing in favor of that momentum. And the Vlahovic injury could be a blessing in disguise in that regard. And I'm rooting for it because they need to come good because we invested a lot. We invested a lot in those players.
David played a lot better before Openda came on, in my opinion. Still, little bit too selfless. But I mean, he released Chico in the breakaway, which, gosh, when was the last time we scored a freaking breakaway, guys? So frustrating. But we don't need to go down that rabbit hole. Once Openda came on, him and David could not seem to find each other or seem to agree on what they should do. Openda, instead of running to the corner, just passed it to the center, maybe thinking David would be there, coughing the ball up in precious time for Cagliari to have a counterattack. So those two clearly are not on the same page yet.
I still feel that if you don't want to play Yıldız as a 10, and I think that's a consensus amongst the coaches that we had up until now, if you insist on keeping Yıldız on the left, for the love of God, try Tridente with Yıldız on the left, Openda on the right, and Jonathan David in the middle. Because I think Openda can be of great value on the right.
We'll finish the player discussions here. Zach, I'm going to cheat a bit and just the whole back line. So Coop, Kelly, and Kalulu. Just your assessment there.
I think they found a nice little. We found a nice little back line. Not the back line we really expected when we came into this season with Bremer coming back from injury and maybe seeing Gatti improve, but for the first time, and I would say this spans the last few games, for the first time all season, lately, I haven't been fretting our defense as much as earlier this year. Much more so on the midfield or whether we score goals. And so it's kind of silly to say that the Kalulu, Kelly, Coop back line is one that I feel comfortable with because I didn't see it coming, but is far from, it maybe actually is the least problematic area of the pitch for Juventus.
Very
For
tidy.
now.
You look at, I mean, I know this was not the most meaningful of opposition, but Kalulu 93% pass accuracy, Kelly 97, Coop Miners 94. Now, obviously, a lot of those are uncontested passes, right? And you're always going to have higher percentages back there, but it's tidy. And I thought Kalulu's actually looked much better these last couple games compared to the beginning of the season. He's not a name we talk about all that often, but I think he had a nice game.
He last year he did all these roaming runs and was way more involved, I think, in the offensive play, where for much of the season he was number one in progressive distance passing and dribbling, which was crazy. This year he's definitely been a little bit more behind the scenes, but when you don't talk about goalkeepers and defenders, that's usually a good sign. And Kalulu has really put no foot wrong, in my opinion, for this season and has been very tidy. Keep in mind, we started playing him for much of this year as right wing back, okay, in an awkward role for him. And he has done, I think, the job asked of him with aplomb, maybe not materially affecting scoring more like he did at times last year. But from a backline perspective, that's not really what we need from him. And for his contribution defensively in the possession play, he has been solid, and I will take that when looking at some of the other issues that we have.
It's very surprising, and it's not, I think, something that happened by chance, but it's very surprising that two players that we can, you know, put up there for the competition of comeback of the year are two players that are currently sitting in our defensive back line right now, which are Kelly and Koopmeiners. Nobody would have even dreamt of both of them doing as well as they're doing right now in a defensive back line last season. I sometimes have to pinch myself when I see Cole controlling a ball and playing it in very tidily with the perfect amount of weight and speed on the ball, and things that he didn't seem to be able to do in midfield. So I'm actually rooting for the guy right now as an individual, and the same
Yeah.
with Kelly, because for me, Kelly and Zach agrees with me. We've talked about this many a times. For me, is the comeback kid of the season, and it's amazing how much. And I'll die on this hill. The reason for his comeback is, well, started from his choice of spending the whole summer in Turin, preparing for the new season, getting acquainted with the language, the culture, the people, everybody within the club, whatever. I think that makes a massive difference. And this is one of the reasons why some of our newly found or newly transferred players aren't performing, because they're out of touch with the culture, the team as a whole, the DNA of the city, of the team, of the club, whatever you want to call it. I think they need to be felt welcomed by this family club that we are, by the tradition that we have. And I think once they feel comfortable enough and let go of that mental block, or that,
Mhm.
those bars that cement at their feet, then they'll thrive. But I think this is one of the necessary steps. So I hope some of the players do the same and follow Kelly's example and lead this summer, or even in the winter break.
But you
So we've
mentioned
gone
Coop.
from
Just
go
real
ahead.
quickly, it cannot be understated the mental sort of perseverance that both of those guys demonstrated. Kelly staying over the summer, rightfully criticized for a horrible half season, um, playing poorly, criticized at the biggest club in Italy, and having the perseverance to come through. Coop being saddled with one of the biggest bust signings in Juventus history, and then starting the season equally poorly, and then saying, "All right, new coach comes in. I got an idea, Coop. Why don't you go back and play defense? That's going to help you out." And for him to say, "I'll do it," and do it the way he has, is in a lot of ways, in almost, or maybe if not in every way, a reflection of the mental strength and confidence in the coach that they had, and vice versa, that these gentlemen have displayed. And so I think it's really cool to see. And when you say it's the area of least concern is our defense, when we were shedding goals earlier in the year, is all due to those guys, and it's awesome to see, and it's awesome to say.
He'll
The
get back to
defense,
midfield, though.
it's the defense
I,
nobody has seen coming, going from the BBC to the KKK.
All right, let's not go there, my dude.
my man's in Texas. Be careful what you say. Good thing you're not in Alabama or
Yeah.
anything. But I do say I do think that Cope will eventually return back to midfield. I think once Bremer's back, I think Cope will take his place up in midfield, especially if we get a new midfielder in. I think then you'll have a three-man midfield if we decide to choose. I think Cope will be
Yeah,
part of that
yeah. I
three-man
mean,
midfield.
but it's
Don't break what
this is
don't
this is
break what's
working,
working.
right?
Yeah,
Exactly, exactly. If we're gonna stay in this in any formation that is similar to this, if this is working, don't break it.
You should rejoin the group, by the way, next week, coming week, at the end of the week, if he has an ultrasound plan on Tuesday, I think, and if that ultrasound is good to go or gives the go ahead, then he'll start
I'm so
training
nervous
on
about
Thursday.
him. I
I'm not
just
hopeful. I'm not
yeah.
hopeful. I just wish he'd take his time, and if we look at the whole planning and our timeline, I think it'd be much more wise to say, you know what, sit this one out, start training by
Just
yourself, and
play
after
the long game
Christmas,
with this. Yeah.
after Christmas, we'll join you to the group. You can start the group training, but don't count on any minutes just yet because we want to see how much pressure that knee can take and what have you, and be very, 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 very cautious with him.
And let's be real, we've got Rugani, Gatti, and Cabal. Not saying that they're world beaters, but we've got 3 guys on the bench who can play center back. It's not like, as much as we might be lacking quality, we don't need to force his return, especially because their starting trio is playing well.
Agreed.
So as we start to come to the conclusion here of our post-game analysis, I've got 2 kind of quick things to address. But Zach and Frederic, are there anything that you were hoping we would discuss that we didn't get to, or topics in the chat that you feel warrant a bit more attention?
We a post-game thing, we always do what the man of the match, right? Do we even need to bother, or can we just say it was Yıldız and move on with our
It
life?
didn't even occur to me because it is that obvious,
Yeah,
but
okay,
we can certainly talk about it if you want.
Yeah, I think you need, at this point, you need like a top 2 because it's always Kenan at number 1. So I think
hold on.
And I think it's
Can
I have to
I-
interrupt because I think if Farhad is listening to this at a certain point, he'll be very upset if I don't play this.
very big testicles.
There you go.
Yeah,
Kevin, can I yell at Frederic for a second?
you. Sure
This
can.
is maybe my favorite thing in life. Frederic.
you sound like my wife.
Yeah, there you go. It was a few days ago, and you said that Kenan has done nothing to deserve his extension. Do not sign his extension.
No,
He's not
no.
worthy of it.
Still feel
you
the same way,
just
by the way.
You just said you need to do top 2 because the broken record is the man of the match is always Kenan Yıldız.
For the last 2 podcasts, yes, I agree, but I think it's very difficult, because it'd be very quickly over with if we all just yelled Kenan and then logged off. So for the sake of argumentation, I'd rather have a top 2. But I stand by my point. I think that if and this is a big if because I don't know the intricates of the negotiation, but if it's true that Kenan is asking for more than 7 million net without bonuses, and he is under contract until 29, I think, then you need to wait a bit. I don't feel that he deserves that, neither, because let's be honest, Vlahovic doesn't, and then David for now doesn't either. But hold your horses, I'd say to Kenan.
So your issue is not the extension per se.
No,
it's the amount
no.
of.
It's if you put it in relative terms, like he's played 110 games with Juventus right now. He scored 19 goals or 20 with today's second, 20 goals. So is that a good statistic? Is that a bad statistic? Or is that a statistic that, makes you pay a player 7 million without bonuses? Because if you add the bonuses, it'll be close to 9. I don't know. I think we have to be
7 million though. 7 million is where the majority of our first team players' salaries reside. He is unequivocally a first team player, right? If you judge him on the broader statistics over 100 games, let's be real, the vast majority of those earlier ones were garbage substitute appearances, right?
Yeah, but
and so he's tied for first on our team in goal contributions this year. It's very clear that the team plays better through him. Just because he's younger seems weird to deprive him what regular starters or key players of our team are making.
I gave out not the complete set of information because I said without bonuses. The bonuses that they suggested are very, very easy in terms of we must finish above 10th place or something like that. So these are joking bonuses just in order to fiscally have more advantages for him. So it's closer to 8.5, 9 net with those jokingly bonuses added, which I feel is unwarranted at this point. But That's
So
another
who's number
discussion.
two? Who's number two behind
Okay, we're going
Yıldız
back.
today?
We're going back to number 2. Sorry,
We're going
sorry.
back. I'm voting Moretti today.
I think he played well. I don't know if it's enough to put him there. My opinion. It was nice to see his performance, but Zach, give me another name.
I'm going to go with Locatelli. His contribution in the passing game and being number 1 in defensive actions on our team meant that he did all the necessary two-way dirty work to help us facilitate and hold on to this victory.
Yeah, I can see that.
There
I
it
can
is.
see
There,
that. No,
there it is, Kevin.
I have
For those who don't have the
no.
video component, Locatelli is the player on the back of my kit today.
You chose poorly, my friend, but for today,
I chose il nostro capitano for questa stagione, but I mean that was the other thing I wanted. That was one of the two things I wanted to bring up because Locatelli did hit his 200th appearance for the Bianconeri today. 200 might seem like a lot, but honestly, like Rabiot still has more appearances than Locatelli does for Juve. So, I mean, that number will continue to improve. He's a very polarizing player. For those of you who did not listen to the episode we had with Beppe just a couple days ago, we had a very healthy discussion around how Locatelli is viewed by Juventus fans.
Can I shoot one question? Maybe not
sure.
just to you all, but also the chat, because it was interesting for me to find out if we were offered 50 million for Loca, would you sell him?
50 million for Locatelli?
Mhm.
I mean, the inclination would be yes, but with all that money, we've talked about this, is who do you bring in? Can you bring in players that do what he does for our team and or a parallel role for that type of money? I think midfielders, you're going to spend more money. He's our captain. He is, with his long release balls, the only spark of creativity from our midfield right now. And so that he's wearing a few hats. I would be inclined to say yes, considering his age, his profile. But I would want to see that short list.
The financial answer is yes, because that's more than what he's worth.
Okay, let's say we bring
I
in.
have no confidence in the club being able to fill.
No. But let's say for argument's sake, we bring in Bernardo Silva on a free transfer.
But that's apples and oranges in terms of what role they play.
Yeah, I know, but he'll reinforce midfield. I think Silva. I think they'll push him more centrally.
Times, but I know you're fishing for an answer, and I think the financial answer is
what
yes,
I want to know.
But knowing
what
how
I want to
our
know.
team, our management staffs our squad, I would struggle that they would be able to do that.
What my question was referring to is: are we able to substitute Locatelli from somebody from within, position-wise?
No.
Is it a good idea,
No.
for instance?
No, our midfield is horrible right now. It's very thin. It's begging for people. We talked about it's begging for someone to step up because Thuram hasn't. Our hope is in Moretti, a player that I've been vocal about, where I have serious doubts of whether he'll ever grow into a Juventus level player. Like, that's what our midfield currently is. Taking out Locatelli, even for 50 million, which exceeds his value, it would put us in a world of hurt because we don't have a midfield. Then he does it all. He does the long balls to be offensive. He does all of the defensive dirty work to protect our defense. He's our captain. And as much as he might not be as good of a captain and as good of a leader as we want, that's an area seriously lacking on our team. So that's he's wearing a lot of hats right now, and that speaks maybe more about our squad depth at that position than anything else. But I would be hesitant because we would have to replace a lot. With that 50
that
million.
was my point. That was exactly my point, because a lot of people know that I'm very vocal about Locatelli and his underwhelming performances in my eyes. But I'd say, and I think this has to be the benchmark for the future in terms of transfers, if we decide to sell a player, regardless of the name, regardless of the position he plays or how long he plays at Juventus, I don't care. If we decide to sell him, we need an upgrade. Signed and done. Like, I can't stand Locatelli, but if I have to, take the risk, as Zach said, to sell him for 50 million and bring in somebody from, I don't know, the Swedish second division to replace him, and spend like 30 million on that guy too, then I don't see the added value. So I think,
Yeah.
and I hope that, we can all be in our assessment of transfers as objectively to say, like, if we do something transfer wise, money wise, then it needs to be worthwhile, or else it's not worth doing it.
And that's why I would, given the current situation and our track record with transfers and purchases recently, I think that would be
Yeah,
a
because
pretty poor
I, s-
idea.
I see the name Ederson also appearing in chat and online. He can go for 30 million. That's a
And
blatant
I
lie.
don't want any more
No,
Atalanta or
I don't even
Fiorentina
want I
players
don't even
coming
want a
anywhere near the
bowl
city
of
of Turin.
pasta out of Bergamo anymore. Like, I want nothing. I no, keep him. But if Ederson goes, then it's probably for around the 50 to 60 million
Yeah,
mark,
he'll go for a lot
to
more.
me,
Yeah.
which for me is a Zidane player kind of money. Even though the market's crazy, I think 60 million, you need to invest in somebody who you know for sure that has certain added value in your team. And I'm doubtful about Ederson, one, because he's Ederson, and secondly, he comes from Atalanta, which makes the risk even that much higher. So I'd stay
Yeah.
away from him. But if somebody chooses to pick him up, it's not gonna be for 30 million.
Well, Fred, we'll see. We'll see what. Ask you again once my GoFundMe for Patrick Berg gets up to 5 million. It's like 12 euro and
Well,
some pocket lint. But
I just deposited €5, by the way.
oh, okay, 17
We're
euro
close. We're
pocket
close.
lint. We're getting close to our Patrick Berg amount of 5 mil. But then maybe my answer will change. Who knows?
I don't know the tune. Patrick Berg is a real name on the list.
Hey,
He has been since Kamoli stepped in, basically in May, I think.
And
And the
now, Freddy Scoops
performances,
with the scoop. He's the best in the business, see?
they're monitoring. I'm not sure if he's on the 100 name shortlist, but they're closely monitoring him. And I think the performance he put out on the pitch last week wasn't too bad for him in terms of exposure and potential transfer related quarrels. But here's a name.
And I think this would be a good time, Kevin, if you don't mind. I just want to plug real briefly the scoop for those new to Turin Giants. Over the summer, Frederic and I did a sort of sub program called the Scoop, where we leverage Frederic's inside contacts within Juventus to discuss all of the rumors tied to players and management and so forth surrounding the transfer window as we approach the winter transfer window. And I see a lot of people asking in the chat, well, what about Palestra? What about Ederson? So on and so forth. Frederic and I will be picking the scoop back up to aggressively cover all of the rumors about Juventus leading up to and throughout January. So please stay tuned for those episodes as we near January. And that would be the perfect time to shoot us messages at Turin Giants or at the Scoop Juve on Instagram to ask your transfer-related questions that we could address during those shows.
I missed those
Also-
episodes so much. Like that was such a
Aw,
good no, it was such a
Aw.
good it was such a good companion going out on like runs in the summer. It's like a good kind of punchy kind of 30 40 minute episode
That's nice.
at
Thank you,
most, and
Kevin.
it was
You make me
yeah.
blush.
Yeah,
make me
I
blush.
You
miss-
blush.
I
I'm
miss
the one who
those.
do all the PowerPoint. Okay, so
That's true. That's true. You do the hefty lift, but I'm on my phone all day and my days
Yeah,
off
you
trying
are,
to get.
you are.
So it's good teamwork. Oh, also we got a new logo coming up. Don't know if
Logo.
anybody
We've
cares.
got merchandise. So
Yeah.
we'll keep all
For the
we'll keep all
scoop. Oh,
y'all.
I love it. I love it.
Oh yeah, we'll keep.
Yeah.
I just hope it's a giant ice cream cone.
Nah,
you will
I'm
see.
not-
You will see.
You'll see. You'll see.
All right, looking forward to it. So in the final thing I had was just a commentary or maybe a quick perspective on our ultras in Curva Sud. So I don't know if people kind of listening and watching the match noticed that the stadium was actually quite silent, I think through minute 21. So there was some kind of protest from the ultras, which If you follow anything around them, there's it's a never-ending story, and there's always something to complain about with the management. And I had some friends at the stadium today and messaged them why were they protesting, and she had responded, who knows, maybe someone got a bad hot dog at the last match and now they are protesting against the stadium services. But actually, when in the 21st minute, you could hear the drums through the television, and they became more vocal and sang through the rest of the match. But they actually started by shouting something against the police, and then started singing
It had
again.
to do with their protests against immigration, or the immigration laws within Italy, especially within Turin and surrounding areas. Because it is an issue in Italy. I'm not gonna tiptoe around that. It is an issue, and it's becoming something that is a thorn in the eye of many people that were born in Turin and see good parts of their city go to waste. Sounds negative, but in decline, because they create, at least the illegal immigrants, they create a lot of negativity in and around Turin and the bigger cities as well. If you speak about Bologna, you speak
We
about
certainly don't want to
Modena, you speak
offer
about-
like political
No,
commentary
no, it's
here,
not. It's not
but these are
political.
real situations that have impact.
It's
And we're
just a
just describing it
situation, and
objectively.
I know that some of the Curva Nord and the Drugi were very vocal about that during some of these rallies, and they were fined, not only by the Italian authorities but also by Juventus, or Juventus condemned the actions, or their support resolving that political matter, and I didn't fell into good earth with them. But in all fairness, for them, it's, every reason is a good enough reason to go
It's
on
just there's
strike or
always
whatever.
something, and it's frustrating.
It's
Club of ours, because I personally have been supportive of their presence and what they represent to the stadium atmosphere, just to the experience of being there, and the orchestration and the passion. It is special. I think it is just frustrating as a Juve fan to know that the group that is supposedly the most passionate and lives it more than others, which I think is still very kind of debatable how true that is. Um, to see these constant frustrations just
yeah.
overtake their passion for cheering the players on the pitch, and it gets exhausting.
As you know, I went, in the old days as well. I went numerous times, and the atmosphere then was a lot better because you had these small fractions like Irriducibili, Bravi Ragazzi, Curva Nord, Nucleo, and now it all just, is one
Kind of
pile.
blends into one.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and that creates a lot of tension, because the nice thing about it is that you had this Curva Nord, Curva Sud
Yeah.
rivalry. It was the back and forth, and a bit of taunting, but also, supporting when we needed supporting. And now that's all, basically thrown out the window. And I feel bad because, in the old days, especially in Delle Alpi, because Delle Alpi was a shit stadium, but in terms of resonance and in terms of volume, it was even louder, I think, than Allianz at this point, due to the building of the stadium, and you had those rings on the top with all the ultra there, and it was a different experience for sure. But it's a bit of a shame that these things have to be mixed up with just supporting our players. It has
Well, you
nothing
and
to
I
do
are
with
going to make
that.
up
And
for it, right? So we're trying to coordinate going to
I
Juve Napoli
I
in January.
I have bought flares. I have bought a drum. I have bought drugs. We're gonna go all in.
So I think that it's January 27th. I think that's That's the date for
Uh,
that match.
yeah, yeah.
So we play
It's
Napoli
it's an
twice in
evening game.
quick succession
Mm-hmm.
because we have them in December, then again in January. So we're trying to
Yep.
be there, and if Curva Sud and is on strike, we'll
Take
gonna
over
make up
that. No
for it.
worries.
Yeah.
I hope I have
Speaking
my
of the
Turin Giants hoodie then, so we can advertise.
Speaking of the next matches, Zach, you'll be hosting post game for Udinese coming up
Yep.
on Tuesday.
Yep.
So we look forward to joining for those
I
of you
should be
who can
around as
join the
well.
YouTube live. That'd be great. I will not be there, but I know Zach will run a
Mhm.
great episode. And if you're going to listen, obviously it'll be available on those platforms as well. Guys, anything else that we need to touch on before we bring this one to a close?
I think we did it. I just want to thank everybody who joined us in chat. Y'all are always so much fun and amazing. And calls for more scoop episodes. Frederic and I hear your call, and we will, like I said, promise to be ramp those up in December and hit it hard in January.
Yeah, I wanted to a quick shout out to you, Kevin, as well, because you're moderating this episode, and I know it's hectic at times with our dad lives and everything, and to you too, Zach. But it goes without saying because we're like twins when we appear on screen. But I wanted to give a quick shout out to you for taking the time off, and Zach too for giving us these types of enjoyments after the game, and to the people in chat as well. I really like it, and I see our chat base growing and following growing, so that's awesome.
By the way, actually, I'm so glad you said that, Frederic. I've been meaning to say this, Kevin, to you, and I keep forgetting. Recently, I went back. So my first episode on Turin Giants was episode 250.
Oof.
But Kevin predated me, and so I went back to see if I could find out Kevin's involvement. And recently, based on what I could find, and I didn't really look that hard because I don't have that much free time, but based on what I could
I don't know where you're going with this.
Very recently, Kevin, you have completed 50 legitimate Turin Giants episodes.
How about that?
I want to applaud the contribution that Kevin has had from stadium interviews and Instagram content to being a wonderful host and co-host and informative member of this team. So Kevin, thank you for now. I think it's like 53 ish contributions to Turin.
Do you know my count? Do you know my count?
Screw you, dude. I don't care about you. This is about
well,
Kevin.
thank you.
I'll
I had no
remember
idea.
that.
Yeah, I had no idea.
You're off the list for
that.
the scoop mugs. You're there goes your Christmas present.
This was an absolute joy, pleasure to talk to you both as always. And for those of you who joined us live on YouTube, thank you for sticking with us for the last 90 minutes or so. And if you were listening again to this on the podcast, we again really appreciate it, and thanks for getting to the end. We look forward to continuing the dialogue for Juventus Udinese coming up in just a couple days as we seek out our victory, I think, for the first time this season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Fino alla fine, forza Juve.
Conclusione in rete, Andrea Pirlo, un gol pazzesco. Del Piero, Alex, Del Piero. Palla di Pogacar, Pogba, rete, un gol incredibile, Pogba fa esplodere lo Juventus